What's up, guys and gals of the movement world? It's Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, coming to you once again on behalf of Football Beyond the Stats in our Mover of the Year feature, the Movement Skill Deep Dive on Christian McCaffrey, running back of the San Francisco 49ers, our most skilled, dexterous mover of the 2023 National Football League season. We're going to look at another game against the division rival Seattle Seahawks that took place in San Francisco. This game, however, here the 11th game of the season on this 2023 campaign, was taking place on Sunday Night Football, the brightest of lights, highest of pressure, highest anxiety, and against a division rival for the division lead, with a 7-3 San Francisco 49ers team facing a 6-4 Seattle Seahawks team. Christian McCaffrey, like so many times across the course of the NFL season, puts the team on his back, even a team that is star loaded with special skillful movers. And we're about to highlight two particular plays that are across various situations that do begin to highlight the really layered and special nuances of Christian McCaffrey's movement skill set. So without further ado, let's get into the first of those plays taking place late in the first quarter here. And it's going to, at first glance, look like it's just a simple off tackle or zone run to the left here. Let's get me back to the place as we watch it back. And then when some navigation through tight traffic, right? But what we want to do is make sure that we're not missing the forest through the trees, that we are investigating the context that shapes the content and how it's perpetually feeding into one another. One more time through before we get into the 50% speed. So you're going to see some of the nuances here, guys and gals, that I've highlighted so many times already throughout these videos with this movement skill deep dive into Christian McCaffrey. But if you were to really look across situations, play to play, rep to rep, across the course of the season, that's how we will truly assess dexterity. And that's what we're going to do here today. But I would encourage y'all, if you are interested in seeing maybe even bigger deep dive, to look at this particular game's footage and film, at least the highlights. And you're going to see situation to situation, that which what we're witnessing right here on this type of play, him making someone miss in a phone booth, him using this little slight subtle deception. Now, some of that is coming tactically from Kyle Shanahan and staff, but some of that is Christian McCaffrey's own little spice, his own little flavor, his own little special movement sauce, if you will. And that's part of that which what makes Christian McCaffrey so special. He's the artist, he's the creator, and he's doing it through these little nuanced ways that we don't want to miss. And it takes place really right from the start here as you see him really connect to movement problems in his own authentic way also. Right from the start, obviously, he's got to go make one guy miss. He's responsible for making this dude miss on this respective play, right? And essentially, if he can take care of that guy, he's going to trust in his offensive linemen as well as his offensive skill players who are very polished and very willing blockers, and guys like George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel, that we're going to see these guys go make blocks that just set up what he's about to do. You can't have one without the other, even though you might in certain situations, maybe like in a Barry type of situation, right, where he doesn't have a lot of help. Christian McCaffrey does. But you need the help of your friends, and you are able to be awfully connected to the affordances of those friends. But as we look at this, even right off the bat, and you guys are going to probably think that I'm making more of this than I need to. But I would argue that if we say that, we're going to really miss the forest through the trees. Finger pointing away to the moon, as Bruce Lee would say. Let's look at CMC right here and even begin to think about, as we often do, what he might be attuned to and what he may be adaptable around. And again, local movement problem followed by local movement problem, followed by local movement problem. These successive affordances or these movement problems that are stacked one after the other in a complex, intertwined, interwoven way will feed into the movement solutions that Christian McCaffrey or any player makes step by step. Look at him right here, even in this posture, this position. Now, granted, I captured this vantage or viewpoint in kind of an awkward timing, but we're going to see how his perceptions feed into his intentions, meaning his aims to act in a given way, the decisions he might make, the thoughts he might think, and then how that perpetually feeds into the degrees of freedom problem biomechanically and from a motor action standpoint. We can't separate any of these processes from one another because it's one integrated movement solution that is fit to the matching problem. You guys have heard me say this before, but we see this illustrated now, okay? I want you to think about, again, what information sources he might be attuned to in these 1v1 type of movement problems. Because remember, one bigger global movement problem, 11v11, and that which what it entails, can be separated or sliced down into these slices or snippets of the game, these 1v1 interactions, and then we would just see the layers on top of that. That's about as low as we want to go in this system's lens, or as little of component parts as we'd want to go with this lens. But again, we're looking at what he might be attuned to, posture, kinematics of the defender. Okay. How is that defender positioned? And how does that defender's position changes as he takes steps, Christian himself, and begins to interact with that opponent? Behavior affords behavior, and the opponent's behaviors are going to perpetually feed into what might be possible for Christian's behaviors. Then we might even think about, and let me give it a different drawing tool out here, where other space might be afforded to him, right? And we're going to think all these layers, especially for the higher skilled mover, is going to be playing chess as opposed to playing checkers. In Christian McCaffrey, this is one place that I think that he could even begin to improve a bit more of, because there are times, like in a Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley type of fashion, he does get a little fixated on that which what lies ahead. But he connects so nicely and neatly to that, and his movement actions are so abundant, his movement toolbox is so abundant that it can lead to any respective movement action that could emerge. And so as we clear this and we look at that which what unfolds here, I want you to really look at it step by step and see how the two parties right here, these two individuals, Christian McCaffrey and this, the defender that he has to make miss, might be in this constant reciprocal dance with one another as we see his movement actions be led and channeled off of the posture and the positions. Right here, you can see that, and I hate to keep pausing it on you guys here, but you can see that the posture and the positions of this free defender, if you could see that he's coiled and sliced to move from left to right, look at Christian's actions now in this reciprocal dance. This is where cat and mouse type of evasive agility actions, 1v1 scenarios and situations could have a great degree of efficacy within training. Making guys move left to right at will in sort of this puppeteer type of fashion is one thing that the most skillful running backs in space, here in tight space, in a phone booth, are going to do better than their peers. So let's watch it again play out. Let's not miss it. You see him move, Christian that is, move from right to left in this little crossover action, get this dude moving to Christian's left to open up the space that would be afforded to him. And he scoots through this new space that was opened up based on his own actions. If you guys look across the course of the NFL season, you're going to find instant after instance of Christian McCaffrey doing this, moving guys into the space that he wants them to occupy so it opens up a different door. And then, yes, we do see clean and crisp biomechanics, this outside foot power cutting type of action, this jab step. But really, it is set up in a really innovative way. It's not done like it would be again on a cone. We see it right there in that transition step. That doesn't look the way that it typically would if we're going to ask him to perform a slalom drill at cones or to do many pre planned, prescribed change of direction activities to lead to this agility. This, guys and gals, is agility in context. Okay. All agility should be in context. It's change of direction in context because it's technique applied to the problem. Okay. And so it's not about the technical model, it's in how he can come to those biomechanics because of the information he picks up. And then he gets through that hole relatively unscathed, or so it appears, that defender might only get just a bit of a hand on him and doesn't slow him down at all. And it's that special sauce that we often see from Christian McCaffrey. And then when he moves through the hole, going from one level to the next, one movement problem to the next, he's always moving on to the next while still somewhat being connected to the first. We see 58 begin to get his hand on him, and Christian continues to solve that problem as long as he needs to make sure that he's able to get out of harm's way. But we're going to find that his perception is currently fixated on that which what lies ahead. He's connecting to that aliveness, the unpredictability, the indeterminacy, the uncertainty, that which what is. Even though 58 here is still in the midst of his tackle attempt, and we see Christian displaying and exhibiting those really crisp and clean technical models of that acceleration model that he possesses, right? He possesses. But he's adapting it again in context. So again, I don't want you guys to miss this layer, okay, or these layers. And you can see that he once again, even if it's subtle, even if it's momentarily, even if it's briefly, gives enough of a look and an appearance as to what his intentions actually are. He moves his perception momentarily, still stays pretty focally at times, whereas I think he could stand to pick up more information peripherally at times. And this is a gap or a place or space that I feel as though he could stand to improve slightly. Now, he would have to be immersed in these types of learning environments that, and then encouraged to go search a little bit more in order for that to occur. And that's obviously what I would propose need to be done. But nonetheless, he's still able to solve these movement problems in his own unique and authentic way. But we have to again ask ourselves, what could he be missing in this situation? Because that's a question we always want to ask that could lead to areas of opportunity. I'm actually quite shocked or surprised that he does miss this opportunity to potentially move in more of this direction based on how this defender is positioned, especially when there is this amount of space between the two of them. You know, we're talking about a good 4.5 yards. And what I would like to see him actually do is run to him and maybe another 1 or 2 steps and then look to cut from right to left, especially even though it does look like this guy might be able to move in this direction. I think if he were able to start connecting and coupling his movement behaviors a little sooner, he might be able to move them a little bit more. Again, we're nitpicking now because we're talking about the best in the league, the most skillful and dexterous in the league. Okay. But he ends up then running to and into contact. There are times in Christian McCaffrey's past that he looks to be a little too physical. He looks to orient a strength or power oriented solution, maybe a little too early committing to it, or to speed oriented solutions as well in strategies. And we kind of see that here in this case, particularly with the power or strength oriented solution. So let's move to our second play because we do want to get into 2 here today. Let me look for it. It's at 104. Um, and I should actually look at the toolbar to make sure I get us there. So we're going to see a touchdown here from Christian McCaffrey, and you're going to look at how this becomes bottled up. Now, Christian McCaffrey faced an 8-man box as frequently as any player at the running back position did. He typically did find a lot of congestion, and that will happen when you draw a lot of eyes and attention to you, right? An 8+ man box. It's obviously going to happen more often than not in the red zone also. But what we're finding from Christian McCaffrey is when the movement problem complexity or difficulty increases, more numerous interacting component parts participating in tighter space or maybe in more intense or more difficult to solve fashions, Christian doesn't get locked in to one way of solving in most cases because he has such a plethora of ways to solve these movement problems. Okay, so let's watch this now at 100% speed unfold this quick pitch to left and then watch him move through traffic in a highly novel way. Okay. Really cool stuff. Obviously, coming from Christian McCaffrey, we're going to watch it. Okay. If I could actually find where we're supposed to be. Obviously, this video recording is highly emergent, just like the movement problem solving from Christian McCaffrey. Again, moving defenders to where he wants them. So he is in this tight mutual reciprocal relationship with what is, with the what is. The what is out there, and he has a relationship with it. It's a mutual, functional, reciprocal relationship, and it's adaptive at that, not locked in to his one way of needing to solve a respective problem. And you're also going to find a whole lot of comfort, very little panic, even in chaos, even in complexity, even while facing the difficult movement problem. Let's see it at the slower speeds after the pitch. And again, trusting Kyle Juszczyk, number 44, to go make a block. You see the patience as he strings this from right to left and as he just moves in transition. Christian McCaffrey, one of the most skillful transitional movers in all of the game. Okay. He's always kind of like a cobra waiting to pounce, like a cobra waiting to snap. Okay. That's kind of where he is right now, moving in this way, even if the movement problem begins to break down in a way that speaks to him differently than he was expecting or anticipating that it would. We often see this feeler from more skilled running backs, right? Putting the hand on a guy that you trust right here. Obviously, your own offensive lineman and a good one at that. Being able to put your hand on that guy's back or hip to feel where he's going, but also to keep that feeler as an interpersonal distance measuring stick to keep yourself far away enough, but also feel what is coming into you and to you. This haptic perceptual touch can be coached and developed. Okay. But we're going to find it from the more skilled players. And then when he feels that that flow has gotten too much up in his lap, you see him move on to an alternative option. When he does so, again, we see him in this biomechanical posture or position where it's highly transitional. He's again waiting to pounce. He isn't even in that like loaded or coiled or wide a base of support. Even look at the position that he's in. He's slightly off balance, but it isn't about what biomechanical position he's in, guys and gals. What is it about? It's about what information is he taking in. And there are times that we see him actually, again, look to and through. If it kind of exists within this, this type of tunnel vision, this type of focal vision right in front of him. When movement problems are breaking down and he's not moving too quickly, then we see this more layered perception, this deeper or longer perception where he begins to fill in some of those details and he acts in accordance to the immediate local movement problem in the form of 53 to get a more distal or further away defender to move also. Cool stuff here from Christian McCaffrey, highly layered. Now, whether he's consciously thinking about this or not, guys or gals, that question remains to be seen or answered. Okay. But what we would find is his behaviors would begin to answer that question for us. Look at the posture and position here of 53. Okay. And Christian knows, where do I want to go? Well, I want to go here or here. It all depends on how I can get both guys, or at least for sure the immediate threat or challenge, moving. So he's keeping an open, responsive landscape of affordances. So it's responsive to the what is his own movement behaviors. Okay. Hopefully that makes some sense. And then we see him move from left to right again. Just put that little jab step out there. Okay. Let's not miss it. Okay. He's going to put that little jab step out there just to get 53 moving. Oh, shoot. I took my arrow away, of course. Okay. Just to get 53 moving this way and Jamal Adams moving to his left or to Christian's right, just ever so slightly. Okay. Just ever so slightly. And if you guys can hear my dogs barking, I apologize for that. That's why I'm trying to wear the headphones, right? So he puts his jab step out there, and that jab step draws those defenders in just ever so slightly. Look at how it got both guys to commit. We might just see the subtlety of the jab step. It's just a simple jab step, right? But it reorients Christian himself to be able to open up a new affordance to act, and it gets both defenders moving, drawing in closer to him. And it opens up that lane and that affordance to act, that opportunity to act. And then once he does that, yes, he might be smelling pay dirt here, but in certain situations where you see this huge, like there is a huge amount of space that is he should be operating in, or this emerging gap. But in the NFL, those gaps that exist there, that space that exists there to the left or right of the defender or right in front of oneself, will close and close quickly. Why will it close quickly? Because we have some of, if not the world's most dynamic and athletic players, okay, obviously, who are playing and trying to get in your way, right? So Christian moves on and doesn't stay overly insistent on being able to move or behave in this way. Continues to show us that little subtle transitional movement by using that crossover cut in that way. Oops, let me take it back a little further. And we see it right here. Just that subtlety here from left to right with that right foot down, moving across the body, all in relation to picking up Quadre Diggs, number 6 here. Okay. And then preparing for contact, the contact balance, but also the contact protection and the novelty that emerges when he starts sniffing the end zone or wants to pick up a few additional yards. This is where a little bit of the multi-sport background comes into play, guys and gals, also. Across this play, getting exposure, getting experience, solving a wide variety or plethora of movement problems. You guys hear me talk a lot about it. No two problems are ever the same, so neither are any two solutions. But if you've solved a wide variety of movement problems in your sporting career, it shapes your form of life. Novelty emergence, creative movement actions, and movement solutions, integrated movement solutions emerge, and ultimately highly authentic, and in this case, adaptable movement solutions also emerge. Let's see if Sunday Night Football is going to give us another view. They are. Let's watch that as we go and end the video here today. Hopefully you're able to pick up some of the same things that we just put down. You see some of the nuances there, that interaction between 23 and 53. We don't even see Jamal Adams on the screen. We do see Diggs, but let's watch it, see it unfold, take it snapshot by snapshot, and see how quickly this dance unfolds because of how attuned, intentional, and adaptable Christian McCaffrey is. Okay. Special stuff, layered stuff from the most skillful and dexterous mover in the game in 2023. Number 23, Christian McCaffrey of the San Francisco 49ers. Guys, hopefully that all is making some sense for you. If you enjoyed this video, I would highly encourage you to check out the rest of them, as well as get into the movement deep dive, the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. Every system has flaws. Christian McCaffrey isn't without flaws. He just so happens to be able to, per the definition of dexterity, solve any emerging movement problem across more situations and across more conditions. Different stadiums, different time of game, different pressure, different crowd, different viewership, different fatigue level, and the like. Situations and conditions. Christian McCaffrey has been exposed to a wide variety of movement problems, and it shows in the way that he integrates his movement solutions in relation to those problems. So for Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, this is Football Beyond the Stats, our Mover of the Year, Movement Skill Deep Dive. I hope you guys keep coming along for the ride.